Clara sat quietly on the bus as the sun began to set over the dusty hills. Her heart was full of nervous excitement and a little fear. Today was supposed to be the start of a new chapter in her life. She was going to marry John, a kind man she had met a year ago. Everything was planned perfectly: the wedding, the small celebration, and their future together. But now, Clara was far from the place she expected to be. She was on the wrong ranch. The bus stopped near a small wooden gate with peeling white paint. Clara got off, holding her suitcase tightly. Around her, the air smelled of dry earth, wildflowers, and a faint hint of smoke. The sky was wide and open, filled with colors she had never seen in the city. "Hello," Clara called softly, looking around. There was no one in sight. She walked through the gate and down a narrow dirt path. The ranch house was old but sturdy, made of weathered wood and stone. Smoke rose from the chimney, curling into the cool evening air. A few farm animals moved quietly in the distance. Clara felt a strange mix of emotions. This was not where she was supposed to be. The address on her invitation was for a large ranch 3 miles down the road. She had double-checked it, but here she was, standing alone in a place she did not recognize. Suddenly, the front door opened. A tall man with rough hands and a gentle face stepped outside. His eyes, kind but tired, studied Clara closely. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice calm. Clara swallowed her surprise. I think there's been a mistake. I'm supposed to be at the Jensen Ranch for my wedding, but I ended up here." The man nodded slowly. "You're at the Miller's place. Not the Jensen Ranch." Clara's heart sank. "I'm so sorry. I don't know how this happened." The man smiled kindly. "Don't worry. You look tired. Come inside and rest a while." Clara hesitated but then followed him into the house. Inside, the walls were decorated with old photographs and simple wooden furniture. It was cozy but very different from the city homes she was used to. As she sat by the fire, Clara took a deep breath. She thought about John and the guests waiting for her miles away. How could this happen? Who had sent her to the wrong ranch? Just then, a small voice interrupted her thoughts. "Are you the bride?" asked a tiny girl, stepping shyly into the room. Clara looked up and smiled at the little girl. She wore a simple dress, and her eyes were wide and curious. "Yes, I am," Clara said gently. "What's your name?" "Lily," the girl replied, coming closer. "I've never seen a bride before." Clara laughed softly. "Well, I'm a little lost, Lily. I'm supposed to be somewhere else, but I don't know how to get there." Lily nodded, as if she understood everything. "My daddy says God sends people where they are needed. Maybe you were sent here for a reason." Clara looked at Lily with surprise. The little girl's words were simple but full of meaning. Could this mix-up be something more than just a mistake? That night, Clara lay awake on the old wooden bed, listening to the sounds of the ranch, the wind rustling through the trees, the soft moo of cows in the distance, and the quiet breathing of the people in the next room. She thought about the life she had left behind, the busy city streets, her friends, and the wedding she had dreamed of. Now, everything felt uncertain. Yet, in the quietness of the ranch, there was a strange feeling of peace. The next morning, Clara woke early. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges. She looked out the window and saw Lily waiting by the door, holding a small basket of wildflowers. "Good morning, Clara," Lily called happily. "Come outside. I want to show you something." Curious, Clara got dressed and followed the little girl outside. The ranch was alive with activity: chickens clucking, horses neighing, and the smell of fresh hay in the air. Lily took Clara's hand and led her toward a small garden. It was filled with bright flowers and green plants, cared for with love. "This is where Mama used to plant," Lily said softly. She loved flowers. Clara looked around, feeling a tug at her heart. She could see the love and care that had been poured into this place. It was more than just a ranch, it was a home filled with memories. "I'm sorry about your mama," Clara said gently. Lily nodded but smiled. "Daddy says she's watching over us." Clara felt tears in her eyes. For the first time since arriving, she felt like she belonged somewhere. As the days went by, Clara tried to figure out how to get to the Jensen Ranch. But something kept her rooted to the Miller's ranch, the quiet strength of the family, the simple beauty of the land, and the warmth in Lily's eyes. The wrong ranch was not what Clara had planned. But maybe, just maybe, it was exactly where she needed to be. The morning sun poured through the windows of the old ranch house, casting warm light on Clara's face. She sat at the kitchen table, drinking a cup of strong coffee. The taste was bitter but comforting. Outside, the sounds of the ranch woke up with the daybirds singing, a rooster crowing, and the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. Clara looked around the small kitchen. It was plain but full of life. A few pots hung on the wall, and a wooden table stood sturdy in the middle of the room. The scent of fresh bread filled the air, and a bowl of wildflowers sat in the window. The door creaked open, and the man who had welcomed her the day before stepped inside. His name was Tom Miller. He was a tall man with weathered skin and kind eyes that seemed to hold a quiet sadness. He wore old jeans and a faded shirt, clothes that had seen many days of hard work. "Good morning," Tom said, nodding to Clara. "Good morning," Clara replied with a soft smile. "Thank you for letting me stay here. I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused." Tom waved his hand gently. "You're not causing trouble. You're welcome here. It's just been a long time since we had any visitors." Before Clara could say anything more, a small voice called from the next room. "Daddy, breakfast is ready." Tom's face softened, and he looked toward the doorway where Lily appeared. The little girl was wearing a simple dress and had her hair tied back with a ribbon. She ran to her father, who scooped her up in a warm hug. Clara watched them, feeling a strange mix of emotions. She could see the deep love between father and daughter. It was clear that, despite the quietness, this family was held together by strong bonds. Lily noticed Clara watching and smiled shyly. "Do you want to eat with us?" she asked. Clara's heart warmed. "I'd like that very much." They all sat around the wooden table. Tom served eggs, fresh bread, and homemade jam. The food was simple but tasted like home. Clara ate slowly, trying to take in everything around her. After breakfast, Tom stood up. "There's a lot to do on the ranch. If you want, Clara, I could show you around." Clara nodded eagerly. "I'd like that." The ranch was bigger than Clara had first seen. Wide open fields stretched under the bright blue sky. Horses grazed peacefully, and a few cows wandered near the barn. The air smelled fresh and clean, a sharp contrast to the busy, smoky city she had left behind. Tom led her to the barn, where he introduced her to a gentle horse named Daisy. Clara reached out to touch the horse's soft nose, feeling a calm she hadn't known before. As they walked, Tom told stories about the ranch and his family. He spoke softly about his late wife, Sarah, who had loved this land more than anything. He explained how raising Lily alone had been difficult but also full of meaning. Clara listened carefully, feeling a deep respect for Tom's strength and kindness. She realized that, even though this was not her planned wedding place, she was surrounded by people who needed her just as much as she needed them. Later, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Lily climbed into Clara's lap and whispered, "I'm glad you're here." Clara held her close. "Me too, Lily. Me too." The days that followed were filled with small moments of connection. Clara helped with chores, feeding the animals, mending fences, and baking bread. The work was hard but honest, and Clara found a surprising joy in it. She also began to understand the quiet rhythms of ranch life, the early mornings, the steady pace, and the deep connection to the land. It was a world so different from the city's noise and rush, yet it felt right. One afternoon, Clara found herself sitting beside Tom on the porch. They watched as Lily played in the yard, chasing a butterfly. "You know," Tom said quietly, "sometimes life takes us places we don't expect. I think maybe God has a plan for you here." Clara looked at him, her eyes full of questions. "Do you really believe that?" Tom smiled gently. "I do. And I think Lily does, too." Clara smiled back, feeling a warmth in her heart. The Wrong Ranch was becoming a place of hope and new beginnings. That night, as Clara lay in the old wooden bed, she thought about the strange way her life had changed. The wedding she had planned was still out there somewhere, but maybe the real journey was just beginning here with the Millers. Her heart was no longer full of fear. Instead, it was open to the unknown, ready to find its place in this quiet, dusty corner of the world. The morning sun was soft and warm as Clara stepped outside the ranch house. The sky was painted in light blue, with gentle white clouds floating lazily. Clara breathed in the fresh air deeply, feeling a calm she hadn't known in a long time. Lily was already waiting near the garden gate, her small hands holding a bundle of wildflowers. When she saw Clara, her face lit up with a bright smile. "Good morning, Clara," Lily said happily. "Good morning, Lily," Clara replied, smiling back. Lily took Clara's hand and pulled her toward the garden. The flowers were blooming beautifully, bright yellows, reds, and purples swayed gently in the breeze. It was a peaceful place, full of life and color. As they walked, Lily suddenly stopped and looked up at Clara. Her eyes were serious and calm. "Clara," she whispered, "God finally sent you to us." Clara was surprised by the little girl's words. She stopped and looked at Lily, searching her face. "What do you mean?" Clara asked softly. Lily shrugged but kept her eyes steady. "My daddy says that sometimes, when someone is needed, God sends them exactly where they belong. You were sent here to this ranch, to us." Clara's heart fluttered. The thought was strange but beautiful. She felt a warmth inside, like a small light shining in the dark. "Do you really believe that?" Clara asked, her voice gentle. Lily nodded without hesitation. "Yes. Because before you came, this place felt lonely. But now, it feels full of hope." Clara smiled, feeling tears gather in her eyes. The little girl's faith was pure and strong, and it touched something deep inside Clara's heart. For a moment, they stood quietly in the garden, the flowers around them swaying in the soft wind. Clara realized that maybe this mix-up, the wrong ranch, the unexpected journey, was not a mistake at all. It was a chance. That day, Clara spent time helping Lily with small chores. They picked vegetables from the garden and fed the chickens. Lily chattered happily, telling Clara stories about the ranch and her life with her father. Clara listened carefully, feeling more connected with each passing moment. She saw how much Lily loved her father and how the two of them worked hard to keep the ranch alive after her mother's death. In the afternoon, Tom joined them outside. He was fixing a broken fence, but when he saw Clara and Lily working together, a smile appeared on his face. "You're a good help," Tom said, wiping sweat from his brow. Clara looked up and smiled. "Thank you. I want to help." Tom nodded. "We've had tough years, but having you here feels like a fresh start." Clara felt a lump in her throat. She had come to this ranch by accident, but now, she wanted to stay not just as a visitor, but as part of their little family. That evening, as the sun began to set, Clara sat by the fire with Tom and Lily. The sky turned orange and pink, and the stars slowly appeared. Lily climbed onto Clara's lap, resting her head against her. Clara wrapped her arms around the little girl and looked at Tom. "Thank you for welcoming me, Clara said softly. Tom smiled and nodded. You belong here, Clara. This ranch, this family, it needs you. Clara looked down at Lily, who was already half asleep. She thought about the wedding she had planned, the big party, the fancy dress, and the many guests waiting for her in the city. Now, those dreams seemed distant and less important. Here, in this quiet ranch house, Clara had found something real: love, hope, and a place to call home. The next morning, Clara woke early and walked outside alone. She stood in the middle of the open field, watching the sunlight stretch over the hills. She thought about the path her life was taking. The mix-up that had brought her here was no longer a mistake. It was a blessing. She could still hear Lily's whisper, "God finally sent you to us." Clara closed her eyes and whispered back, "I'm here." The wind blew softly through the grass, carrying her words into the wide, open sky. The days passed slowly on the Miller Ranch. The sun rose and set over the rolling hills, painting the sky with colors that seemed almost magical. Clara found herself waking early each morning, feeling more at peace than she had in a long time. Each day, she grew closer to the family she had not planned to meet. Tom and Lily were becoming more than strangers, they were becoming a part of her life. One morning, Clara helped Tom mend a broken fence. The old wooden boards were cracked and worn, and the nails were rusty. Tom showed her how to hammer the nails carefully, his rough hands steady and patient. "You're a quick learner," Tom said with a small smile. Clara smiled back. "I want to help. I want to be useful." Tom looked at her with something like hope in his eyes. "That means a lot." As they worked side by side, Clara felt a quiet bond forming between them. Tom's life had been hard since his wife passed away. He carried his sadness quietly, but Clara saw it in his tired eyes and gentle movements. Later, Lily came running to them, her small feet kicking up dust as she carried a basket full of fresh eggs. "Look, Clara," Lily said proudly. "We can make breakfast now." Clara laughed and took the basket from Lily. "Thank you, Lily. You're very helpful." The three of them prepared breakfast together, sharing smiles and stories. For the first time since she arrived, Clara felt truly at home. As the weeks went by, Clara and Lily spent many hours together. They planted flowers, picked vegetables, and read stories by the fireplace. Lily's laughter filled the house, and Clara's heart felt lighter. One afternoon, Clara asked Lily about her mother. Lily's eyes grew quiet. "Mama was kind," she said softly. "She loved us and the ranch. Sometimes, I still feel her here." Clara reached out and took Lily's small hand. "She sounds like a wonderful woman." "She was," Lily whispered. Tom joined them and sat quietly for a moment. "Sarah was a strong woman," he said. "She loved this land, and she loved our family." Clara could see the deep love Tom had for Sarah, even though she was no longer with them. It was clear that her memory lived on in everything they did. One evening, after a long day of work, Clara sat with Tom on the porch. The sky was dark, and stars twinkled above them. "I never thought I would find a place like this," Clara said quietly. Tom looked at her and smiled. "Sometimes, the place we need isn't the one we expect. It's the one that helps us heal." Clara nodded, feeling tears well up. She thought about her own broken dreams, the wedding that was supposed to happen, the life she had planned. Now, those plans felt distant and less important. "This ranch, this family, it feels like home," Clara said. Tom reached out and squeezed her hand. "We're glad you're here." As days turned into weeks, Clara's presence brought new energy to the ranch. The animals grew healthier, the garden blossomed, and the house seemed warmer. Lily's laughter grew louder, and Tom's smile came more often. Clara realized that the wrong ranch had become exactly where she was meant to be. The mix-up that had started as a mistake was now a beautiful chance for new beginnings. One afternoon, Clara found a letter in her suitcase. It was from John, her fiancé. With trembling hands, she opened it. John's words were kind but clear. He understood the situation and wished her happiness, even if it was not with him. Clara felt a wave of sadness but also relief. The path ahead was no longer clouded by doubt. She folded the letter carefully and put it away. That night, Clara sat by the fire, holding Lily close. She whispered to the little girl, "God did send me here. I know it now." Lily smiled and whispered back, "I told you." Clara closed her eyes, feeling a deep peace. The ranch was no longer just a place she had been sent to by mistake. It was a home filled with love, hope, and the promise of tomorrow. Clara woke up to the soft light of dawn filtering through the window. The ranch was quiet, except for the gentle sounds of the wind and the faint calls of birds waking for the day. She sat on the edge of the bed, her mind full of thoughts and feelings she could not easily explain. For weeks now, she had tried to forget the life she left behind, the wedding she was supposed to have, the city she had called home, and John, the man she had planned to marry. But those memories kept coming back, like waves crashing gently but persistently against the shore. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the wide fields stretching toward the horizon. The sun was rising slowly, casting golden light over the trees and hills. This place felt different now, like a quiet, safe world where she could breathe. But deep inside, a question remained: could she really let go of the past and embrace this new life? Downstairs, the soft clatter of dishes and voices brought her back. Tom was preparing breakfast, and Lily's happy chatter filled the kitchen. Clara took a deep breath, then joined them. "Good morning," she said, forcing a small smile. "Morning, Clara," Tom replied, handing her a cup of coffee. Lily ran up and hugged Clara tightly. "Are you okay?" Clara hugged her back. "I'm fine, Lily. Just thinking." Tom watched her with gentle eyes. "It's not easy to change everything you know." "No," Clara said softly. "It's hard." After breakfast, Clara went outside to help with the chores. As she worked alongside Tom, the steady rhythm of life on the ranch helped quiet her thoughts. She fed the chickens, gathered eggs, and helped mend a gate that had come loose. Tom worked silently, his strong hands moving carefully over the wood. Finally, he spoke. "Clara, you don't have to hide your feelings. It's okay to be scared or unsure." Clara stopped and looked at him. "Sometimes, I wonder if I made the right choice." Tom nodded. "Life doesn't always go as planned. But sometimes, the path we didn't expect is the one we need." Clara smiled faintly. "I'm beginning to believe that." That afternoon, Clara sat on the porch with Lily. The little girl was drawing pictures in the dirt with a stick. "Lily," Clara said gently, "do you ever feel scared or lonely?" Lily looked up, her big eyes serious. "Sometimes. But I know my daddy and you are here. That makes me feel safe." Clara's heart ached at the child's honesty. She reached out and took Lily's hand. "I feel the same way," Clara admitted. "I'm scared too. But I'm learning to be brave." Lily smiled. "We can be brave together." Clara laughed softly. "Yes, together." That evening, Clara sat alone in her room. The quiet house felt peaceful, but her mind was restless. She pulled out the letter from John again and read it slowly. John had written with kindness, understanding that things had changed. He wished her happiness and told her to follow her heart. Clara felt tears blur her vision. She folded the letter and placed it gently on the bedside table. The life she had imagined, the wedding, the home in the city, was no longer real. But a new life was waiting here, on this ranch, with Tom and Lily. She realized she needed to face the truth inside her heart. The next morning, Clara found Tom outside, working near the barn. She walked over, her steps steady. "Tom," she began, "I want to be honest. I don't know what the future holds. But I do know that I want to stay here with you and Lily." Tom looked up, surprise and hope in his eyes. "Clara, that means more than I can say." She smiled, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. "I don't have all the answers. But I want to try." Tom nodded. "We'll figure it out, together." Clara felt a new strength inside her. The fear was still there, but it was softer now, replaced by hope and courage. That day, Clara helped Lily prepare a small garden patch. They planted seeds carefully, covering them with soil and watering gently. "This garden will grow," Clara said. "Just like us." Lily looked up and nodded. "I can't wait to see the flowers bloom." Clara hugged her tightly. "Me too." As the sun set, Clara stood outside watching the sky turn deep orange and purple. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the mix-up that had sent her to the wrong ranch, the little girl's whisper, and the family that had welcomed her. She realized that life was full of surprises. Sometimes, the hardest moments led to the most beautiful beginnings. Clara took a deep breath and smiled. Her new life was waiting. And she was ready. The morning light was soft and golden as Clara stepped outside. The ranch was alive with the sounds of nature, birds singing, horses neighing, and the gentle rustle of the wind through the trees. She felt a calm settle over her, a feeling she hadn't known for a long time. Clara looked at the familiar faces of Tom and Lily, busy with their morning chores. Tom was repairing a fence while Lily carefully fed the chickens. The sight filled her with a quiet joy. Today felt different. It was not just another day on the ranch, it was the start of something new. Clara walked over to Tom and smiled. "Do you need help with the fence?" Tom looked up and returned the smile. "I would appreciate that." Together, they worked side by side. The rhythm of hammering nails and moving wooden boards was soothing. As they worked, Clara felt the weight of the past slowly lifting from her shoulders. Tom glanced at her and said, "You're doing great. You've really made a difference here." Clara blushed slightly but kept working. She wanted to prove to herself that she belonged. After they finished, Tom invited Clara and Lily to join him for lunch in the shade of a large oak tree. They sat together on a blanket, sharing food and stories. Lily told a funny story about a mischievous goat that had escaped from the pen the day before. Clara laughed, feeling lighter and more connected than ever. That afternoon, Clara took a walk around the ranch, letting her thoughts wander. She saw the horses grazing peacefully and the wildflowers blooming along the fence. Her mind returned to the letter from John, her fiancé. She had read it many times but hadn't responded yet. She knew she needed to face that part of her life honestly. Clara took out a notebook and began to write. She poured her feelings onto the pages, the confusion, the sadness, the hope. After writing, she felt a small sense of peace. She folded the letter and placed it carefully inside the notebook. Sometimes, letting go was the hardest but most important step. When Clara returned to the house, Tom was sitting on the porch, watching the sun begin to set. "Would you like to talk?" he asked gently. Clara nodded and sat beside him. "I've been thinking," she began, "about what comes next for all of us." Tom listened quietly. "I don't know what the future holds," Clara said, "but I want to build it here with you and Lily." Tom smiled, his eyes shining. "That's all I ever wanted to hear." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the colors change in the sky. Over the next few days, Clara and Tom talked openly about their hopes and fears. They shared stories of the past and dreams for the future. Clara learned more about the ranch's history and the love that had built it. She saw how much Tom and Lily had suffered but also how strong they were. Together, they made plans not just for the ranch but for a family. One evening, as the stars began to twinkle, Clara found Lily sitting quietly by the fire. The little girl looked up and smiled. "Clara," she said, "I'm happy you're staying." Clara hugged her tightly. "Me too, Lily. Me too." It was a promise made without words, the beginning of a family formed by love, not by chance. The wrong ranch had become the right home. And Clara knew, deep in her heart, that this was just the beginning of their beautiful story. The morning sun rose gently over the Miller Ranch, casting a warm glow on the peaceful land. Clara stood on the porch, her eyes watching the horizon where the sky met the earth. The air smelled of fresh grass and wildflowers, a smell that now felt like home. It had been several weeks since Clara had arrived unexpectedly at the wrong ranch. What had started as a mistake had grown into something beautiful, a new family, new dreams, and a new life. Lily ran toward the porch, her laughter filling the air. "Clara! Come see what I made," she called, holding a small wooden bird she had carved with Tom's help. Clara smiled and took the little girl's hand. "It's wonderful, Lily." Tom came out of the barn, wiping his hands on his jeans. He looked tired but happy. His eyes met Clara's, and they shared a quiet understanding. They had both changed in these weeks, grown stronger, more hopeful. That morning, Clara helped Lily and Tom prepare for the small celebration they planned. It was not a big party, but a gathering of close friends from nearby farms. They wanted to welcome Clara properly and celebrate the new beginning they had found together. Clara set the wooden table with wildflowers and simple dishes. The aroma of fresh bread and roasted vegetables filled the kitchen. Outside, the ranch animals wandered calmly, as if sensing the happiness in the air. When guests began to arrive, the ranch filled with smiles and warm greetings. Neighbors brought pies and baskets of fruit. Children played together on the wide green lawn. Clara looked around, feeling a deep joy. This was what she had been searching for, a place where she belonged. As the sun began to set, Tom stood and raised a glass of sweet tea. "To new beginnings," he said, his voice steady but full of emotion. "To family, love, and the future." Everyone raised their glasses and cheered. Clara felt tears in her eyes as she looked at Tom and Lily. They had become her family, the family she never knew she needed. Later that night, after the guests had left and the stars sparkled above, Clara sat on the porch with Tom and Lily. The world was quiet, peaceful. Lily rested her head on Clara's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for staying." Clara kissed the top of Lily's head. "Thank you for welcoming me." Tom reached for Clara's hand, holding it gently. "We're lucky to have you." Clara smiled, feeling the warmth of love surround her. The wrong ranch had brought her to the right place, the place she was meant to be. In the days that followed, Clara and Tom worked together to care for the ranch and each other. They dreamed of building a life filled with laughter, hope, and strength. Clara knew challenges would come, but she no longer feared them. She had found a new family, a new home, and most importantly, herself. The whisper of the little girl, "God finally sent you to us," echoed in her heart. It was not just a whisper, it was a promise. As the seasons changed, so did their lives. The ranch flourished, the garden bloomed, and Lily grew happy and strong. Clara found joy in the simple moments, the quiet mornings, the soft sunset, the laughter shared around the fire. One evening, as they sat together watching the stars, Clara felt a deep peace she had never known before. She whispered, "Home at last." Tom squeezed her hand. "Home forever." Lily smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. And so, the story of the bride sent to the wrong ranch became a story of hope, love, and new beginnings. It was a story about finding family where you least expect it and discovering that sometimes, the greatest blessings come from the most unexpected places. Clara's journey had been uncertain and filled with challenges, but in the end, she found what she truly needed, a home filled with love and the promise of tomorrow.